How do you compare a cut-up street cruiser to a retro cafe racer, considering that both motorcycles are as similar to each other as apples are to brinjals? The KTM 390 is a modern motorcycle on the cutting edge of design and technology with ABS and an exposed frame, while the Royal Enfield Continental GT is a modern enough single-cylinder brute and yet looks like something your granddad would ride if he was cool. On paper, the KTM has the Enfield beat hands down because on paper, numbers and figures are flat and one-dimensional. On the road though, things are quite different. Because motorcycles are just not about numbers and figures, what a bike feels like when you ride it is very important. But even more important is how it makes you feel. Representing brash modernity is the KTM 390. The Duke looks like a motorcycle that was designed by someone with a pathological hatred for curves. Outside of the wheels, you're not going to find anything on this bike that's not a straight line. It's almost as if the Duke was designed for radar absorption. On the left-hand corner is the Continental GT, and it's unlike anything you will see out there on the roads in India. Clip-on handlebars, huge modern disc brakes from Brembo, a low-down riding position and a single seat. Under that seat you won't find a water-cooled parallel or a V-twin. What you've got is a big single cylinder that wouldn't look out of place on a motorcycle from the 60s.
Now this motorcycle might look a little weird to your 21st century eye, a bit like a mashup between a sports bike and a single-cylinder vintage British motorcycle. And in a strange way, that's exactly what it is. And so Royal Enfield, with their huge appreciation for the past, has modernized the cafe racer concept, bringing it to the 21st century. Because kids these days, they're bored with sexting and Twitter, and they want to play. And this right here is a great toy. Under me is a 535cc single-cylinder air-cooled engine that's putting out 29 bhp and 44 newtons of torque.
Now, considering it's supposed to be a sporty bike, the GT is not especially fast. Not in the monstrous way a modern 500cc motorcycle will be, but fast enough when you're riding around in its natural habitat, the city. Yet this motorcycle will hit 100 pretty quickly and seems capable enough for you to stay there all day. What we didn't enjoy so much were the vibrations, especially at lower speeds, but it smooths out as soon as you hit the higher gears. What you will enjoy is the soundtrack this engine provides. This is a quick revving engine, and unlike other RE motorcycles, the exhaust is less thump and more rip.
Now you will find yourself revving this bike constantly even at slow speeds, if nothing than just to entertain and amuse yourself and innocent bystanders. Now attached to this engine is a 5-speed smooth shifting gearbox, and let me tell you, in the 400 odd kilometers I rode this bike, I have not even got one false shift.
What you will also appreciate about this motorcycle is the way it handles. This is the best handling Royal Enfield ever built, and coming from a brand of motorcycles known for their stability, this is high praise. Adding to the overall sense of well-being is the huge 300mm Brembo disc brake in the front, along with a 240mm one in the rear.
A word of warning though. This is not a bike designed for long distance riding, but rather for short, sharp urban trips. Now the thing is that the forward leaning position and the narrow contoured seats are going to conspire to wreck both your wrists and your ass if you attempt anything more than 100 kilometers in a shot.
Now, considering that the Continental GT is a recreational motorcycle from the 60s, attention to detail is going to matter hugely, and this is where Royal Enfield mostly succeed. In this day and age of graphics and cowls and bikini fairings, the Continental GT is a stylish yet honest motorcycle. People will look at you as you ride past. The KTM, on the other hand, unlike the Continental GT, is a frantic, excitable motorcycle, one that will set your pants on fire.
0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds? Sure, no problem. 0 to 100 in second gear without even breaking a sweat. Looking to cruise at 130 kilometers on the highway? Yep, you can do that in fifth gear. You've got an extra gear in your coin purse just in case you want to go extra zen. And all that because power. What you've got under me is a 374cc 4-stroke liquid-cooled engine, putting out 44 bhp on a frame chassis that's borrowed straight from the 200. What that means is that power flows from this engine like rice at a Chinese wedding. There's sledgehammer like power in the mid-range, and for the heavy breathers among you, for those of you who must know, this bike redlines at 10,500 RPM. And since it's pretty cool, it's also got a big red shift indicator right in the center of the console, because constantly hitting the red limiter is not cool. Now helping you along on your merry way is a 6-speed gearbox, which feels light and notchy and is diametrically opposed to the one you found in the 200, whereas that was frantic and begged, almost pleaded with you to shift. This one is geared so tall. Now considering you've got all this power, you can happily cruise around in third gear, especially in traffic, which is genius because it allows you to accelerate and decelerate, to burst out and grab a lane without any problems. And then there's the way this bike handles. With a combination of a riot of an engine and gearbox, the 390 just begs you to be naughty with it. Now if you're jumping onto this bike from any other in its class, you're going to have to wait for a few corners to get the hang of it, because everything happens so razor sharp and so quickly that it's going to take you some time to figure it out. But once you do, you will be rewarded. Hit a bad patch of road and your ass, as the Americans say, will be grass. Because this is a street bike through and through, designed to navigate through city boulevards. Now if you are riding a little long distance on a road that's not especially great, your back and rear end will suffer. But then the wide saddle allows you to move a little bit, allows you to shift your weight around.
And then there's the price, the only area where both motorcycles are in accord. Both will cost you in the vicinity of 2+ lakh rupees depending on where you live. And if you wanted a definitive answer to what bike you should get, it all depends on what your state of mind is. The Continental GT might seem slow, but then we all know that speed is relative. When you're riding around in the city, this is where the GT is in its natural habitat. It feels quick, if you can abide by all the vibrations. The KTM, on the other hand, is much quicker, better in every other way, but where it falls short is style. Sadly, this motorcycle looks identical to the 200, and if preening is part of your motorcycle process, then the KTM will let you down. Now personally, I'd pick the 390, but that's just me. If you look good in leather, then the Continental GT will work for you. We're moving on now. Here's all the news from Planet Auto. The biggest and most important auto event this week took place not at a launch in a 5-star lobby or the racetrack, but in the hallowed halls of Parliament, as the Finance Minister P. Chidambaram slashed the excise duties for automobiles in the interim budget. Duties cut from 12 to 8% for small cars, two-wheelers and commercial vehicles, from 24 to 20% for mid-size sedans, and from 30 to 24% for SUVs. To their credit, automakers across the board have passed on the savings to the customer. On the high end of the spectrum, Mercedes reduced the price of the C-Class Avantgarde Edition from 39.9 lakhs to 39.3 lakh rupees. The flagship GL SUV will also cost 2 lakh rupees less. Competing with the GL will be the Q7 from Audi, whose prices have also dropped for the top-end variant by 3 lakhs. The top-end Mammoth SUV will now cost 78.2 lakhs, down from 82.1. Nissan has passed on the excise cut to its customers by dropping the prices of the Micra Active and the Sunny, which will be cheaper by 4%, while the Terrano gets a 6% price cut. Hyundai have reduced prices for all its cars across the board, with cuts ranging from 10,000 rupees for its small hatches all the way up to 1.35 lakhs for the top-end Santa Fe SUV. Prices of the Scorpio, Bolero and XUV 500 dropped by between 13 and 49,000 rupees, while prices of the SsangYong Rexton SUV saw a cut of 92,000. Honda cut the prices of its cars from the Brio all the way up to the CR-V in a range of 14,650 to 44,741 rupees. VW too reacted quickly to the finance minister's statements, reducing prices of the Polo from 18 to 31,000, the Vento by 14.5 to 27,000 and the Jetta by 38 to 51,000 rupees. Here's a question. It's a simple question with a simple yes or no answer. Would you spend upwards of 30 lakh rupees to buy a car with a badge that says this? Well, it won't be an emphatic no, but it won't be an outright yes either. This is Times Drive. I'm Joel Pereira and today we're driving the 2014 Hyundai Santa Fe. It's big, it's beefy and quite far away from the Hyundais you normally find skittering around on our high streets. You know, the little Eons and i10s. This is a big Hyundai, something we in India are not really accustomed to seeing. It's interesting how this car is styled, because the outgoing Santa Fe was a slurpy avail of designs and styles and could have served as a profile sketch to describe a generic SUV with touches of the Audi Q series thrown in for fun. The 2014 version also gets Hyundai's trademark fluidic design, and from where I'm sitting, it does look quite good. But enough of this idle banter, let's drive. Now normally I would begin by telling you about the engine, but first there's something in this car that's an even greater indicator of what's gone under the hood. Now sitting here in the driver's cabin, the spec sheet on the Santa Fe says it's got a 2.2 litre CRDI diesel engine. A diesel engine, but from sitting here you won't be able to tell because it's that quiet. Now compared to this car, the Fortuner makes quite a racket. It really is quite amazing. Turn off the aircon and the surround sound stereo and all you hear is a slight buzz of the turbo. That's pretty much it. But coming back to that engine, like I said, it's a 2.2 litre CRDI diesel. It's putting out a very impressive 197 bhp and even better, 440 Newton meters of torque between 18 and 2500 RPM. You were probably just about to Google it, so I'll save you the trouble. Yes, that's more than both the Fortuner and the Endeavour. In fact, it's even more powerful than that prince of SUVs in this category, the Land Rover Evoque. Yes sir, with all that power, the Santa Fe is fast. It seems like a car that can crack 100 in less than 10 seconds. Driving this SUV is a whole lot of fun. The steering feels very reassuring and will do exactly what you tell it to do. And when you do push the car, all hell does not break loose. The torque curve is pretty flat, and though you suddenly realize that you can hear the engine, it still responds the way you want it to. The Santa Fe comes in 3 variants. Hyundai is offering you 2 automatic options and 1 manual. We didn't get to drive the manual, but we're guessing from the product lineup that Hyundai wants to focus on the automatics, which makes sense because the fully loaded top-end Santa Fe is only available as an auto. This was the car that we're driving, and the automatic, despite not coming with any of the double clutch abbreviated wizardry, is superb to use. Unlike other automatics of this kind, shifts are pretty quick and power delivery is instant. If you need to stick your foot down hard, you're not gonna have to wait much for power to come. I'm liking the Santa Fe lots and lots. Now, far too often we get cars like these, looking big and beefy, but without the power and the wherewithal to do much. And derisively, we call these cars soft-roaders, or even worse, mommy wagons. Happily, the Santa Fe isn't one. Because if you call yourself an SUV, then you better act like one, and you better have all-wheel drive, which the Santa Fe does. Now that itself isn't too big a deal because a lot of cars in this space do come with all-time 4-wheel drive, a nifty little system that transfers power to whichever wheel needs it. But where the Santa Fe goes a little further is that it offers you 4-wheel drive lock mode that allows you to keep it in permanent all-wheel drive, especially useful when you're driving in the wet or when things are especially slippery. For a car of this size, the Santa Fe handles pretty well too, and the all-wheel drive comes in handy when you push hard and get a bit of torque steer. Now, since the steering is electric, you get 3 steering modes. Sitting on the steering wheel is a button that allows you to switch between the comfort, normal and sports mode, which changes feedback and input pressure. This car is as impressive from within as it is from without. You've got high quality plastics and leather everywhere, exactly the kind of thing you'd expect from a 30 lakh rupee car. Slightly jarring, however, is the blue tone on all the electricals. The dials and backlights all have this azure glow, but then in hindsight, I guess it contrasts well with the warm tones from the wood and leather. More importantly, this car is fully loaded with all the toys you're used to getting as standard from its German rivals. You've got dual zone climate control, cruise control, a fully functional in-dash stereo with ports for USB and iPod, steering controls, and more 12-volt sockets that you'll ever know what to do with. One jarring aspect of the dash though is the super tiny display screen. For a car this big, surely the display could have been a little bigger. And then there's the space. The Santa Fe comes with tons of it. You've got great seats in the front with automatic controls for the driver and manual for the shotgun. The seats in the center are more than abundant. There's a row in the back too, but that space is best used folded up and used as a cargo bay. If you do want to put people in there, we suggest unruly children. They'll be trapped in the back, but at least they get their own AC vents. The Hyundai dropped the Santa Fe at the Expo last week, and since this is a Hyundai, they do offer you a fair bit of choice. You've got 3 versions, the base 2-wheel drive with the manual, the 2-wheel drive automatic, and then the fully loaded 4-wheel drive automatic. Prices begin at 26.3 lakhs for the 2-wheel drive manual, 27.1 for the 2-wheel drive auto, 29.2 lakhs for the loaded automatic. Yep, that's pretty steep. At those prices now, you might not be getting the brand prestige of say an Audi Q3 or a BMW X1, but what you are getting is an honest, handsome, spacious and capable SUV, and that should be enough. Now, 30 years ago, Maruti Suzuki introduced modern auto technology to the Indian public. And now, 30 years later, they're doing it again. This time around, they're introducing automatic transmission to the masses. Here's Kailash Menon with the freshly minted Maruti Celerio.
This is the Maruti Celerio. At first glance, an unassuming hatch it may be, but there is more to than what meets the eye. Yes, it's got 4 wheels and 4 seats and a modest 1-litre K-Series motor. But what sets it apart from the slew of small cars from the Maruti stable is a little something called the auto gear shift.
So it's got something called the auto gear shift, which basically offers you clutchless convenience. Now, it is not a fully automatic gearbox. I mean, it does not have a torque converter, but there is a hydraulic unit at work that does all the job. It is pretty much like an automatic. I mean, you have the drive mode where the car pretty much selects the gear depending on the speeds you're doing, and just in case if you need to perform an immediate emergency overtaking maneuver, all you got to do is flick this lever to the left and you can either up the gears or slam a couple down. So basically this is an urban commuter, and this is tailor-made to handle the city chaos.
So the good news is you get the convenience of an automatic without having to pay the extra cost. And yes, the Celerio is pretty conservative in its fuel consumption too.
Now, automatics are known to be gas guzzlers, and a lot of people get put off because of the rising fuel costs and everything. But this car is a different story, and if folks at Maruti have to be believed, it gives a mileage of 23.1 kilometers to a litre. The best bit, it doesn't matter which mode you're on. You could be driving on the D mode or even in the manual mode. The car is calibrated in such a way that the fuel efficiency figures won't fluctuate with the changing modes.
The Celerio is perfect for your rush hour runs. The 1-litre 67 bhp and the 5-speed auto gear shift delivers power in a seamless fashion. Don't get me wrong, it's not exciting or engaging to drive, but it sure is convenient. The steering is light and the cabin is well put together.
So the interiors, you get a very smart twin combo of black and grey, which looks pretty nice. There are a lot of smart storage slots too. And in terms of gizmo, you have USB, aux and a Bluetooth option that lets you pair up to 5 phones. You also get steering mounted audio controls. So all in all, I mean, it's a very well put together car, and the plastic quality is pretty nice. At least you won't cut your hands when you open the glove box or anything. So it's great.
The styling is a mashup of many hatches, but having said that, it's not cheeky enough to put you off or bland enough to be branded boring. It's conservative yet contemporary. And yes, there's plenty of room too.
This seat has been fully pulled back, and I've got 2.5 inches of knee room to spare. There's adequate headroom and plenty of shoulder room too, but the best bit is the 235-litre boot capacity, which makes it the biggest and the most spacious in the A2 compact segment.
For the sake of making this automatic affordable, Maruti has skipped basic safety systems like ABS and airbags for the top-end VXI automatic. Sticker price now stands at 4.29 lakhs for the base LXI and 4.59 lakhs for the top-end VXI, which is pretty neat.
Ever see a cool car or a hot motorcycle and wonder what it's like to own that bad boy? Well, here on the show, we most certainly have, and we decided to find out. Here's life with the superb Suzuki Intruder.
What I'm riding here right now is the Suzuki Intruder. It's called the Boulevard as well. Its technical name is the M109R. She's an 1800cc, beautiful machine, straight out of Japan. The Intruder has been a dream for many years before I got my hands onto her. There's absolutely nothing else in the market out there. The throttle response is very, very spontaneous. The road handling and control is absolutely straight-lined, and even in terms of cornering, she's just the perfect riding machine. Fantastic looks. Nothing beats the looks. It's got this space age design, which is I personally feel it's very retro, as well as it's super futuristic. It's straight out of a fiction movie. So I love my machine, and I think she loves me back. She's taken good care of me as well. They've left very little room for any more perfection. Just maybe, you know, some cosmetic things, a few decals, a few grips, you know, you can change your foot pegs. In terms of performance mods, all I've done on my bike is I'm someone who enjoys the sound of the exhaust. Therefore, what I've done is I've changed to Cobras, the long dragsters, and they've done exactly what any biker would want out of his power bike, which is to give them a sound versus power, sound is to power feel. It's a fantastic thing. Everything I think out there on the road, be it a human being, be it an animal, be it a stray dog, they all are so attracted to the bike. I mean, I've seen Bentleys pull up and ask me, man, what are you riding? This is an amazing looking monster. She sounds awesome, and you know, so she's quite the attention magnet. Well, I've gone all the way. I've gone all the way out. I mean, at 210, I stopped watching if she's going all the way to 220. She shows 220 on the dial, but I've seen 210, and that was quite the thing. Well, the overall experience of the Boulevard is pretty awesome. I wish I had this bike when I was back in college. So, you know, I mean, boys know what I'm talking about. But then again, I'm very glad that I did not, because she's a really beautiful and powerful motorbike. She's not your everyday bike. The only drawback would be that you probably won't have a riding community of Suzuki riders riding with you. But then again, I mean, I think it's pretty good to be a lone wolf on a bike like this. I mean, I had a conversation with someone from Suzuki, Japan, who had come down for some sort of an event here, and I asked them. I said, "Man, what are you doing next?" He said, "What do you want next?" I said, "Man, you're actually right. There's nothing else that you can do on this bike. A few cosmetic changes just to keep up with time, but otherwise, she's an ageless classic, you know, timeless classic."
And that was our show for this week. We've had a great time making it. We hope you have a good time watching. Remember, you can catch this entire episode online at timesnow.tv or youtube.com and follow us at Times Drive for updates and schedules. Till next week then, ciao and take care.
In over 5 years of the show, you've seen us shooting in all kinds of places. Places where only a handful of nut jobs would willingly go. From the sub-zeros of the greater Himalayas to the beautiful sands of the Thar Desert. From the barren run of Kutch to the wily forests and plantations of southern India. Today, we cross our last frontier. Welcome to Arunachal Pradesh, fondly called Land of the Rising Sun.
The untouched beauty of Arunachal is something that just leaves one speechless. Beautiful homes on mountain slopes, housing 26 tribes. One can find a different language spoken every few clicks, but the warmth and welcoming smiles of the proud people remain the same. We were in Beatnik Dirang, a fief of the erstwhile Buddhist monarch in Tibet. But we weren't there in the valley on a soul-searching spree. We were there, as is our wont, to bring you hardcore motorsport action. The Dirang Valley echoed with the sound of tea-restricted mufflers, the dust flew, and the gravel crunched with the passing of the all-terrain rally tyre, and the people with open arms welcomed rallyists for the first Arunachal Festival of Speed.
The JK Tyre Arunachal Festival of Speed, for us at the Motorsports Club of Arunachal, it's all about national integration. You know, we get participants from all over India, pan-India, right from Cochin to the northeast to Rajasthan to Himachal. We are running, 3 formats of motorsports: autocross, rally sprint and rally hill climb.
Until the end, until the final, blow of the whistle, sound of the horn, we will fight, we will conquer, emerge victorious, we are the champions.
I'm standing at the Lokon Stadium in Dirang, in the middle of the beautiful Sangti Valley. This is the venue of the first event of the Arunachal Festival of Speed, the autocross. The cars do 2 loops of the prepared circuit, which has a patch of slush smack in the middle. As always, best time wins.
The autocross had around 3,000 people cheering the participants on. The starting order had been picked by a draw of lots. The prepared track kept getting trickier to navigate as more and more cars went over it. One other problem the drivers faced was the dust.
Actually, every time you went, you took one hairpin, the dust would come and cover the track, so you couldn't see where you were going. So in fact, thrice I had to almost come to a standstill. That's where I lost a lot of time on the autocross. So unfortunately, they should have laid it the other way around, so the dust went away from the car, not into the car.
See that when we design an autocross track, it's a big challenge because a lot of people come with very fast cars, a lot of people come with short ratio gearbox, a lot of people come with different tyre choice. So normally as an organizer, we kept in mind that the track should be competitor friendly.
It was balanced out for cars as well as the SUVs. So if you look at the times, most of the cars and the SUVs are within 2-3 seconds of each other.
But despite the odds, the drivers managed to thrill the crowd and put up a brilliant driving display and some blistering times. Reigning APRC champion Gaurav Gill took top honours and posted a time of 1 minute 55 seconds in his rally prepped Polo. Second was Philippos Mathai from Delhi driving an Esteem. Dhruva AG came in third place.
The hill climb is a total distance of 5.47 kilometers. There are almost about 18 hairpins on this terrain. The technical part is that the front-wheel drive cars will have a major problem because climbing up around a hairpin, they're putting too much load onto a dry shaft. The four-wheel drive cars will have an advantage because they will not be suffering a power loss through the corner.
The hill climb proved to be a handful for the competitors and saw a lot of cars breaking down and not reaching the top.
I had a flat, the front flat on the starting of the stage itself, so the entire stage I was struggling on the hairpins because my front was just getting digged up. So it was like I lost 4 minutes, but the game's still on.
Philippos Mathai, who was running second in the overall championship, could not finish the hill climb and was on the back foot as veteran rally driver and 9-time Raid de Himalaya champion Suresh Rana posted a blistering time of 7 minutes 56 seconds and caught up with him in the overall points tally. Gaurav Gill continued to dominate and won the hill climb as well and posted a time of 7 minutes 40 seconds, firmly sealing his place at the helm of the leaderboard.
Well, this hill climb is quite technical, as I said, because it's got some parts in it where I think I notched up almost 110 kilometers an hour, 120 even. So that's very, very fast, going up the hill. And on the narrow bits, I almost scraped a rock on the left, on my rear left wheel over a jump, and I was lucky to have just scraped it, not hit it or bent anything.
I'm standing next to the speed spin stage of the Arunachal Festival of Speed. The cars are slipping, sliding and drifting their way and generally going flat out. All this with that view. This is going to be a lot of fun.
The last event on the cards was the Rally Sprint, which took place 3 kilometers away from the hill climb venue in Sangti village. The track of the Rally Sprint was 2.8 kilometers of sand traps and tight corners and saw the competitors make their way slipping and sliding towards the flying finish. Gaurav Gill took advantage of his first start and used the untouched track surface to his advantage and posted a time of 2 minutes 9 seconds. The dogfight between Mathai and Rana went all the way down to the wire and eventually led to a tie between the two brilliant drivers, and they posted a time of 2 minutes 10 seconds and were jointly awarded the second place.
Well, I think the speed sprint's been one of its kind. I've never actually experienced something like that. It was actually so loose, and the soil was absolutely like powder. Did well enough to get fastest time just by a second compared to the four-wheel drive cars.
What we didn't realize when we did recce was that it was a riverbed. So we took it for granted that that's how the road is going to be. And given that it was a riverbed, it got dug up a lot.
Closing ceremony saw the awards being given out to drivers across 6 categories. The overall championship saw Suresh Rana and Philippos Mathai, both with 50 points, jointly win the first runner-up prize. And Gaurav Gill took home the championship with a points tally of 75.
Happy to say that there are more entries here than a lot of national rally championships. So, Lakpa has done a great job, and we really look forward to supporting such events, and especially in the East where it's neglected. And where you only realize when you come here and you see the enthusiasm, the people who are fond of motorsport, they've got some fancy cars.
The Arunachal Festival of Speed was at the end of the day a brilliant show of national integration. Organized by a chap from Arunachal, run by a group from South India, and won by a chap from Punjab. All we can say is that it looks like Indian motorsport is headed in the right direction.
And that was our show for this week. We've had a great time making it. We hope you've had a good time watching. Remember, you can catch the entire episode online at timesnow.tv or youtube.com and follow us on Twitter at TimesDrive for show updates and other information. Till next week then, ta.